So hello everyone. Today we are again discussing one interview related topic, but it is not specific to a particular question and a particular answer. So it's not like that there are list of issues which one is facing during the interview. It is more about, I believe, as much I understand, is about how do we approach an interview, especially when you are giving interview after a break, and then you also see that some requirements are a little confusing. Sometimes they are asking for project management, sometimes they are asking for Scrum Master, and they mention safe in between, they mention domain in between. So how one possibly can approach such kind of interviews. So that's something we are exploring with one of the professionals. So I think this is the background I got from our informal conversation. Anything else you want to give us as a background, and then we get started with your doubts?
Not really, Saket. Mostly you nailed it. Whatever you mentioned is exactly bang on.
Perfect. So what are the doubts in your mind?
Yes, basically, after some time, I have been looking for a job hunt and started looking for a change. Basically, I wanted to know, I am able to see that my JD and my profile looks very much suitable, but how do I present myself? Because now these new Scrum terminology and agile kind of concepts are coming in, which are integrated with the traditional project management. Sometimes it is called as Scrum Master, sometimes it is mentioned as normal project management. So it is very hard to differentiate between these kind of requirements.
Perfect.
Sometimes it is, yeah, I'm not able to judge what exactly the recruiter is looking. So
I believe that is going to be a challenge if there is no direct answer in my mind. I don't know if someone has the great idea about it, because many times recruiters themselves are also very confused because they don't know, do they want to place you as a Scrum Master? Do they want to hire you as a project manager? And this confusion becomes more prevalent when they are hiring you for the client. Yeah. So when they say, okay, we will just get you, maybe for one client you will be a project manager, for another client you will be a Scrum Master. So it depends upon how the client is billing and naming people in their project teams, and accordingly we will push you. That's the label we will give to you. Now, one thing is a label, and another thing is a type of work. So I believe the type of work is relatively easy to predict. So you can say what kind of a skills people might be looking for, what kind of a job profile might require what kind of a skills. So there could be, as you said, some percentage of agile and Scrum and some percentage of project management. These are the two primary skills one is needed in order to do a leadership job in the IT service company especially. Now, if the company is a product company, then it might be more focusing on Scrum Master thing, and you will have a less and less contribution to a share of a project management area. But if it's a pure service and projectized way of working, that's the primary job the company end up or in the business of doing, then they will look for a little bit more exposure towards project management. Sometimes someone else might be doing that job, not you. So they hire you as a Scrum Master, and there is another project manager who does pure project management job. But sometimes they might be asking these two type of work from the same guy, and they may label the person project manager or a Scrum Master. That's what I observe happening in the industry.
Okay, but actually in the JD, when you if you read it, that they were asking for the prior experience of the role, which is a project manager role, which they mentioned it. But still, what I would see is whatever the current roles I have been performing, or the designation which is currently which I am holding in our company, is not exactly as the project manager, because the designation is something consultant or senior consultant. These kind of designations are going through, and there is a project manager designation as well, which is one level up or level down. But
no problem.
A role is one thing, and a designation is on the other side. So how do we balance these two? Actually, means how do we say it, or how do they buy it? Actually, when the recruiter is looking for it, even they may also have these kind of roles or confusions.
Perfect. So for example, you are hiring someone, and you are hiring that person for leading the project team, assuming, and you don't know exactly what this guy might be doing in the host organization, wherever he is right now, in the current organization. And in the current organization, his title might be a project manager, might be a consultant, might be something Scrum Master. But you may want to know exactly how he is, like what he's doing, what is his role. Yeah. So how possibly you will judge? Yeah, that's the question we need to think ourselves. And the same problem the recruiter might also be facing, that okay, how do I identify that is it a right fitment? Yeah. And just relying on the designation may not be useful, because each organization, there is no uniformity in the designation. There are people who are labeled as a project manager, but they might be doing pure coordination work. There are other people who are labeled as a project manager who may do technical work as a part of the team. So I don't know. I, as a interviewer, recruiter, I am not clear what your role is. Yeah. So how possibly I will find that out? That's a question we need to think. Yeah, together. And recruiter is also facing the same problem. Now, some of the possible approaches which recruiter may take, they may ask you to describe your roles and responsibility. So that is your movement. You position your roles and responsibility in a way which matches with your at least current job as well as your aspirational job. So you present it as per the fitment area. You talk about the project management activity you do, the Scrum Master activity you do, the themes you work with, the tools you use, you present that thing. So maybe they will ask, okay, if you have to briefly describe your experience or a current role, how you are working on. That's one possible question. The another possible question is, show me the kind of the relationship or the organization chart of your current project or current department. You know, how many people are there, what is their name, who reports to whom, how they interact with each other, how you interact with them. So if I ask you to prepare a project organization chart for your project, you prepare that, and then you talk about, you know, how the overall interaction happens with the client, what are the client touch point, what you do. So basically, I am again asking you your roles and responsibility, but I am giving you a little structure where I am asking you to plot a organization chart of your current project. Now, even if the person is not asking, assuming, yeah, you may use these tools to prepare your answer well. So you may think of, okay, what should be, how should I place myself in the project organization chart? I may identify people here and there. I identify whom I report to, who are people working with me, how do I interact with the client, or I don't interact with the client, how people plan their work. So you think of a organization chart as a one tool. You think of what are your roles and responsibility as the second thing. And the third thing which you can do to understand what you are doing, you may talk about a typical day. So typical day you spend in a organization, what all you end up doing. So these three things in a both way. At a recruiter side, if I come to know about a typical day of an individual, about the position in the organization or a project organization chart, and a summary level details of roles and responsibility, your KPIs, on which you get evaluated, I come to know what is your roles and responsibility. And that is something I am more interested in rather than what designation you carry.
Okay. Yeah, I got it mostly. But yes, actually, this is the, I think, may be the very decisioning answer, which is going to be like the foundation of the interview when I define it. But yes, I am still not clear that should I be more inclined towards the Scrum Master role, or should I be more inclined towards the project management kind of role while pitching into to the recruiter in the interview.
Yeah, so I
Looking
think
at
that
the GD, what you feel.
Yeah, so that all depends upon the JD and the host company. So the JD which you shared as a typical example, I do see that they have a more inclined towards project management. That's something which we can see clearly, and because they clearly mentioned the mandatory skills of project management. So that's what I the particular JD which you shared is talking about that. Okay. And then they also talk about some exposure in the agile world, but always whenever they talk about agile world experience, the project management experience is more. So you shared a 2 version of the JD. In the version 1, they were saying 4 years plus experience in project management and 3+ years in agile. In the another version, they clearly said the mandatory skill is a project management and the desired skill is an agile Scrum Master. So even if they are for a different jobs, maybe one is for higher up job or lower up, and another is for lower up job, But this JD shows the attitude of the organization, the working style of the organization. That's something. And when they mention things like you should be able to manage fixed price, time and material, you should be able to manage matrices, you should be able to do a project audit, you should be able to take care of request for proposal, contract negotiation. All these things are purely project management space. So that's something they are looking for. In the both the JD, they are talking about good understanding of a project financials and good ability to handle on-site and off-site relationship in a better way. So for this particular JD, I do see the project management space is little heavy. That's what I was browsing. And so we need to study the JD. If you generally talk any other interview or any other space, so we need to see the JD. We need to see the organization type, what kind of a project that organization is doing. And based on that, you decide what might be the desired skill. The only glitch sometimes comes in, for example, I am getting hired by a service company, but the service company is looking for a client who is too much into product way of working. Then sometimes I get confused because the service company may be focusing on project management skill, but they are hiring you for someone who might be looking for a product management skill. So I might need to balance that, but that is something you will get to know in the interview alone in the first initial conversation. So initially you give a sufficient weightage to both, and then you gradually sense the conversation and move towards one side more. But from this JD, it looks like a project management heavy description.
Yes, yes, great, Sakit. You mentioned that on the project financials. So when somebody asks that, how were you managing the project financials? What would be the better answer or the suitable answer when you are saying that, yeah, I was doing these kind of things?
Yeah, so you need to see how you can relate to your
related.
current way of working. So the whole thing is it should be relating to your current way of working. It should not be too much cooked up story, else it might be little difficult to prove and digest, because it will not match with the project organization structure and the interaction points, the way I described that. So if you are taking care of some of the financial reporting, it will come into the interaction point as well. Now, what could come under project financial? So one of the simplest thing is getting money from the end customer or the people. If you are working for a client, you are making a software for someone, and there is a contract, maybe a fixed price contract or a time and material contract. So how do you manage the budget? You ensure that our project team is adhering to what we have thought through, and whenever there are deviation, you highlight them. And you also provide all the substantial supporting materials and other things to the client company so that they keep giving you the money. So taking care of project budget, project profitability, understanding how we are doing at a given point in time, understanding where can we expect more money, what all areas required change requests, so that you pitch for that, and you look for a little bit more opportunity to develop a business with that particular client. So that part of work is many times is called project financial. So you can say estimation and continuous monitoring of the financial part of the project is something is the project financial.
Okay, so even though we are not actually managing the financials, it is like we are increasing the business, because current sometimes what will happen is the project is like a fixed price project rather than a time and material. So in those cases, what actually we are doing is we are, as you mentioned, that we are looking for a change requests or some kind of work or analysis work we are trying to do, and we are trying to make it as a separate billing, which is we are making it to the client. We are getting a say from the client or getting sign off from the client saying that this is the kind of work we are going to do it, and eventually help the system performance, or it will make the system more stable. So we will make this change, we will raise this change request or work order special apart from our regular deliverables, so that those work will also get billed under some heads, and that will also bring some additional revenue to us. So that is one way of increasing the revenue and helping the project to increase the budget.
So one is the revenue part, and another is a tracking part. So both are, I think that's a kind of thing. So say, how do you participated in the initial estimation of a fixed price contract? How do you ensure that your milestones which are expected to get money receives money, because you may not be looking for the money coming at the end of the project alone? How do you clarify what is a part of the scope, what is not part of scope, like a change request, and ensuring the proper evidence collection so that you can bill the customer on a right time is all about managing project financials.
Oh, okay. So, but usually what would happen is in this band of role where what I am currently in, there will be definitely, even though in the new organization also, there will be a proper project manager, or there could be a program manager who would be day in day out, who would be trying to do only the maintenance of the financials.
So you can
Or
say in
yes.
your current way that I was not doing myself, I was supporting someone. So you need to identify that someone in your organization structure when you talk about your project organization, and you need to say that what kind of an evidences and data you need to provide to him or her so that she or he could take care of the rest of the job, and you are aware
Present
that
it.
this is
Okay.
how it was doing. So it will again match with your first story, because sometime it happens in a first story you have not introduced the guy, and now you are reached here and then you are talking about that guy, then it might be a little different. So even if you don't talk in the first story about that guy was doing financials, maybe specifically you are not mentioning, but you may say there was a one more person who is taking care of some of the extra things, and he was working like a project governance and project escalation point for us. And then later on, when the specific question comes, because maybe the interviewer may not get into the details of the financials and all, and unnecessary, why do you want to clarify that I was doing this and I was not doing this? So you need to identify your answer. But once you give that a role or recognize that person in the beginning, then you can bring that person again and say, this part of the work was taken care by that guy.
Okay. Correct. Yes. Yes,
so
mostly.
my recommendation generically is that you focus on the areas which are more matching with your current way of current job and the JD. And don't worry too much about the areas which are not matching with your work and the JD. Because see, it's all about, should we focus on our strength or should we focus on our weaknesses? So I recommend focus more on the strength and have some thought through plan for you are covering the areas which are mentioned in the JD, but you are not doing it as you perceive might be needed in the JD. So you need to have a clear answers for all those things, not necessarily a cooked up story, but you need to have a clear answers for it. Now, when you present that view, it might be a fair selection for the recruiter as well, for you also. You will be also more confident. And again, it's when I take interview of multiple people, I see who fits well. There is no always 100% match. So if I'm talking to 5 people, I'm looking for which one, based on various things, experience, flexibility, attitude, availability, eagerness, multiple criteria, fits culture of my organization, culture of his current organization, the compatibility among them. So based on that, I make the decision. So don't try to be always meeting all the points, but focus on your strong points so that both of you can make a right decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Majorly that was the concern, and these were the concerns which I
Good.
had.
Yeah, good.
Other than that, a little bit of agile concepts. Actually, they were looking for a flavor of agile or Scrum, which we are doing it, but not exactly 100% matching, which is more of a kind of a little bit of a confusion for me. That how do we put it in front of them that yes, being agile and doing agile and following agile, these are the kind of concepts which are making me a little bit confusing. That is recruiter is looking for a total agile guy or somebody who knows it,
Yeah.
or
So see, from the JD, as we discussed before, the recruiter is not looking for total agile guy. And as we know, there is difficult to say total A or total B. That's the reality, especially in the Indian IT context. You usually have a mixed mode. But maybe if the time is less right now, but maybe later on, once you seriously plan to improve and target your position for the future jobs, I think doing some formal education in the agile is a good idea. Yeah. so that you know and you can talk and you can take care of those terminology, and you can also represent which part of those things were implemented in your area, which part of these things were not implemented in your area. So even if you are not doing it, but you can demonstrate these were the reason we were not doing it, and this is how I understand what it really means. Yeah. So I see that in your JD, which you shared, there was a mentioning of agile, there was mentioning of Scrum, and even there was a mentioning of scaled agile. So that's the term I picked up from your JD, and I can see in general in a project and agile way of working space, and where Indian IT companies are also participating, they do end up pitching up. So they will also pitch up their client and all, and client might be working in a scrum way, client might be working in a safe way, and that much awareness they need from their people, so that client find this guy easy to start, so because you might be still doing project management, but when the client is working in the agile way, you should be quickly plug with their jargons, with their terminologies, and their way of talking about things, else you will take a little time to catch up. Again, you can definitely catch up. It's just a way of working. It's not something which is too complicated to understand, but yeah, it requires a little bit of catch up. So maybe not, if it can't be done in the short time, but over a period of time, you may want to add some education like certified Scrum Master or a leading safe, which is a safe agilist certification programs at some point in time. As of now, you can watch some videos and create some awareness about these topics.
Yes, actually, yeah, as it is a open source and knowledge is available over all over the internet, it is very easy to get all this, even though as you said that whatever the parent company or payroll company what we are working for, they might not be directly dealing or following the agile way. The client, whichever they are going supporting, or the vendor who is we are going to support, they might be following agile way of working. So in
Yes.
those scenarios, what would happen is that ideally, even though you are not agile certified or somebody, you will have to follow it ultimately.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I have seen is in my past experiences, that this concept of agile has come 5 year, 6 year, or some before that also. The other vendor companies have also started doing agile, but they are also not completely agile in their own mindset or own people also.
I know.
Even though
See,
they are
the
trying to
idea here is, see, when you
perform the
are,
role of a product owner or a product manager, they are typically behaving like a project management kind of a
so
role.
what I'm
So
saying
that makes
is,
me a
yeah,
little.
so there is a two things. One is that what is the reality of a particular way of working, and another is your job is getting selected. You are not there to evaluate them. So you primarily focus on that. I understand what does it mean, and I also understand sometimes it just means something, and people do something opposite. But I can handle both the situations. I can handle if they really follow agile. I am good with that. I can also work with them where they just follow it for a namesake, because we need to get the business done. So your client will say, client, whatever they are doing, you might not be able to change the client, but your company may want to hire a guy who can work and get the work done. Yeah, whatever flavor or a terminology or mixture client may want to use to. So you, in an interview, you need to give that confidence that I'm aware of it, yeah, and I can handle it. And later on, we will see what happens in the reality and how you need to adapt to your approaches. So don't get into a kind of an evaluation of agile people use for namesake only or not. That is not a conversation when you are giving an interview. Yeah. And that should not be your thought process also when you are giving the interview. Your focus should be, okay, there is an agile way of working and we need to find out how do we win the client? How do we help the client? How do I make my payroll company happy about recruiting me and putting into a project where there is a confusion about agile and project management? Just focus there.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So I think anything else if you want to explore here?
Mostly these were the questions which were actually making me getting confused with how do I actually approach or present it. So basically it is like until you attend few interviews or few things, so that it is depends on the fit.
Yeah. Perfect.
How do the
Perfect.
recruiter find it. So mostly I will try to keeping your all these points in mind, and
Perfect.
going through
Perfect.
the other study materials, so that it will be very helpful for my next
Future
few
interviews as well.
endeavors,
Yeah,
future
yeah,
endeavors.
yeah.
Yes.
So it's good, like things will evolve during the conversation alone. At the
Yes.
same time, you also need to be prepared for some of the things which makes clarity in your mind, and that may help the recruiter also to understand about your approaches and your work area. So understanding, describe your typical day, what is your roles and responsibility in the current organization, how do you fit into the current organization, what are your key performance area, what are the issues you have taken care in the recent time, how do you, what kind of a what good you feel about your way of working, and what is good in your management style, what you feel is, what are the improvement areas in your management style which you feels in. So if you think about these kind of a generic questions which are primarily to clarify your roles and responsibility in advance, that can help you to package your information, because in a virtual world people may not have time to listen to the long stories, and at the same time in a short story you should not be missing the critical points. So now, especially in this
True.
world, interviews require a little bit more process thinking. Yeah, you need to think how I'm going to package my information. It is not necessary memorizing 20 terms
Yes.
from agile literature and memorizing 20 terms from PMBOK. That's not necessarily the goal. That could be a little long-term process just to understand some jargons and way of working. But whenever you go for an interview, you should have a thought process clear, and that much I think can give you a good confidence in dealing with the interviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks, Akhil.
Okay. Thank
Mostly,
you.
I
Yeah.
am I am a little bit of clear, I think, in my mind. Yes. Nice talking to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Nice talking to
Yeah.
you as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.